The board. We're done.
Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Strickland, my name is Jacqueline Lindsay. I am an English teacher at Hobbs Freshman High School. Now, last year I presented you with two wonderful little gifts to say thank you, and one gift to let you know what we were doing at the freshman school. And tonight, I don't want to disappoint. I have brought you this token, and I'll explain what I'm using the fortune cookies for this year. There's one page. Mr. President, not to add to your duties, but once these containers come to you, if you'll sit them down on the floor, and I won't have to think about them again.
Okay.
So, thank you, sir.
Don't like me.
Yes, right. I already said that.
So this year I attended two trainings through Hobbs School Academy, and one was the Capturing Kids' Hearts, and the other one was the Kagan training. Now, even though I took my summer off, those two trainings got my brain back in gear and got me ready for my classroom. So these are the three outcomes of that training and what I'm doing in my classroom. An unbanned banned book club, only because it sounds edgy and not boring to say unbanned banned book club. Now, who will be part of that? Freshman students. What will it contain? A book club that will select and agree upon a book selected from the National Most Challenged Book List, which is approved by the district administration and parents of participating students. It will have a parent permission required. When will we meet? Students and teacher will read the book outside of class and will meet during lunch to discuss the material. No grading required. It's just a little eating meeting. Why? When will it begin? During the banned book week of September 18th through the 24th, 2022. Why? It will promote reading and literary skills, student to student and student to teacher relationships. And how will we do this? At no additional expense to anyone. We will utilize already existing technology and materials. Second item, delivery of a personal message to last year's freshmen, the students on my rosters. Who will deliver? That's still to be determined. I only have a second period prep, and to go to the high school and deliver is not something I will be able to do personally. So it will be an administrator or from the freshman school or the high school, or a combination of both. What will be delivered? A fortune cookie containing the same quote in each cookie. Keep your mind sharp and your heart open. You got this. Love me. Which ties on to last year's quote. You are worthy, you do belong, and you got this. Love me. My students this year, whole different students. So now where will these cookies be delivered? To the sophomore English classes at the Hobbs Freshman High School. Why? To reinforce student-teacher relationships and promote student understanding that even though they are no longer in my classroom, they are not forgotten. And my goal for them is still the same: academic success. And again, there's no additional expense. I've provided the materials. Now, tonight's presentation with the fortune cookie is twofold. One, for my students from last year, and this year, the fortune cookie with the same quote: keep your mind sharp and your heart open, you've got this, love me. Last year when I presented, I had an agenda, and I would like to continue this event for the following reasons. My hope is that by making this a thing and not a happening, my students tell me if something happens once, it's just a happening. If it happens twice, it's a thing. If it happens 3 times, you're in. So this is my 3rd presentation, and I would like to continue to do that to give you updates on what's taking place in my classroom at the freshman school. Now, the quote that I've presented tonight, this is the starting point for a classroom management strategy that I am in the process of developing and testing this year in my classroom. The goal is to increase student engagement. Now, the objective, increase student use of a self-management tool or tools to reduce social anxiety, in-class outbursts, lesson disruptions, and discipline referrals. I'm hoping they will also reduce student-teacher relationship blocks that may hinder or lower my students' engagement. I'm hoping that it will increase positive communication between all stakeholders, teachers, administrators, parents and guardians, and the social worker that's on site. The materials, again, will be teacher generated and implemented during class via verbal and visual reinforcement and at no additional expense. In class at this moment in time, last year, students, you do belong, you are worthy, you do belong, you got this. My students this year don't need that. My students this year need keep your mind sharp and your heart open, because their anxiety goes up. When new information's going in, old information's going out, it's not a smooth transition sometimes. And my students' anxiety goes up. In capturing kids' hearts, we use the hand signals. I do, you do, we do. This means everyone pull in, everyone listen up. We're all actively listening. The hand signal, everybody got it? Got it? If you don't got it, then it's thumbs down. If you do got it, the side way. And then we can all each help each other. And then the foul. The foul. If somebody says something in class that creates that little, ooh, that hurt my feelings, then call a foul. And it's not just, it's I do, you do, you do, we do. We all call the foul, and then the student apologizes. During lessons, when I notice that the student's anxiety is going up, I can look at that student and give them the hand signal. If your mind sharp, heart open. It's also posted and taped to the desk so that they can do that self-management, look at it and say, yeah, keep your mind sharp and your heart open, because I'm having a problem right now and I'm anxious and I'm handling it well, but my classmate is not. So I have to keep my heart open and understand that my classmate's having a little bit of a hard time. So I wanted to present this to you this evening, and you can open your fortune cookie. I bet you can't guess for 1 minute what the quote is inside. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
I have one. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
Mr. Strickland, I mean, let this for you, Gene. This is starting my 5th year at the detention center. I'm almost full time, but I got one class. And we had 8 kids from ops that are with me. And that bothered me. So I asked them why, and it had nothing to do with the schools. It was just for choices that they made. I got 2 groups, and then we have to keep them separated because sometimes they don't get along. But I was tickled that it wasn't the schools that made them quit. Or one young man was going to CTech. He wanted to go into welding, but he says, if I am released, can I go back? I said, I hope so, because these kids are sharper than me. Matter of fact, I'm a Spanish teacher and I'm trying to teach basic math. And one of the kids show up, Mr. C, you did this wrong. So I give him the marker, you do this, because I couldn't do it, whatever. And then the other topic I had, Diana Salinas, the principal at Southern Heights, had a beautiful family, I guess, little fiesta that we had, kind of like COVID. Started to rain, pouring. And so I went over there, they went into the gym and free hot dogs and chips and all that kind of stuff. So she got it going. So I'm real proud of her. By the way, she's a former student too, so I must have done good somewhere along the lines. I got to pat myself on the back sometimes. That's all I got.
Anybody else?
Well, I wanted to thank the people of Hobbs for the support of the kiddos at the fair. That was amazing. And I knew some of the kids, and hopefully you knew some of the kids that did well with their animals or the projects. A lot of fun. If you didn't go to the fair, you need to go.
Mr. President, members of the board, as part of public comment, I want to introduce Chantel Phelps. She is a new administrator to us and not new to administration, but is our early college high school administrator, as well as dual credit, ACT Academy, all things not typical to Hobbs High School. But Chantel, glad that she's here. All of you.
Okay. There are no other comments then regarding tonight's agenda. Are there any additions or revisions that need to be made?
Not that I'm aware, and I make a motion that we approve the agenda
I
for the
second it.
August 16th.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carried. Regarding the minutes of the August 6th, that's not that right. It's the last board meeting, July 19th. Are there any revisions or changes to the minutes? And I would entertain a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I think we're ready for summer. Now, just so that, I have to tell everybody this every year. We don't wear this every board meeting. We do it for special occasions when we have summer graduates. So I'm pleased to have those tonight. Mr. Riadas.
Want to go down front?
Sure.
So, Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Strickland, it is my honor tonight to introduce the summer graduation class of 2022. Very special, yes, absolutely. So I am honored to have the responsibility of presenting the class of 2022 to the Hobbs Municipal School Board members. This is a very special graduation as it represents a small group of students who made the decision to persevere. They made the decision to come back this summer and take the final steps to finish their coursework and to graduate from Hobbs High School. For the students and family members who are here today, we are honored to share in this celebration of achievement. So now, without further delay, Superintendent Gene Strickland, Board President Gary Eaton, and members of the school board. These graduates before us have successfully fulfilled all requirements expected of them both by the New Mexico Public Education Department and those requirements established by our local board. For the class of 22 graduates, please stand up. When I call out your name, please come up and we'll give you your diploma. Before they come down, this is a very special moment for me because not only am I their high school principal, I was also their elementary principal. So I've watched them all year. This is a very special moment for me as well. So at this time, Caleb Miller. And our next graduate, Raven Torres. I also had two other graduates that couldn't be here with us tonight, and they are Marissa Rodriguez and Alan Treviso. So. Power on. Let's give them one more round of applause, please. So parents, family members, loved ones, you're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the board meeting. Or I think there's a little bit of daylight left if you guys want to go out there and take pictures with your family. Okay, thank you all so much for coming. We appreciate you. Thank you. And thank you all so very much. Appreciate you.
So, Mr. President, members of the board, while we're celebrating those graduates, we want to take a moment and celebrate one of our staff members. Sonia Moore took on our nutritional services about 6 years ago. And we continue to talk about the service that our students have through our nutritional service. We knew this last month, actually, we knew it a couple months ago. We paused last month in recognizing her as a School Nutrition Association Director of the Year from the state of New Mexico. So last year, we set a record, and Sonia made it a goal to serve 10,000 meals in one day. So we did that in the spring. We broke 10,000 first day of school this year. So I've maintained that since then.
Yes, every day.
Great job. Glad you're part of the team. You make kids better and you make Hop schools better. What a great team. We appreciate you
Thank you. I'm honored.
so much.
Let's come over for just a little bit.
Right in.
Come together. There you go. Right up here. All right, thanks.
Thanks, son.
Oh, low chair.
Mr. President, members of the board, this evening we have two very special friends of Hop Schools. One an old friend, and I'm not speaking of his age, but a very true and golden friend of ours of Hop Schools, and also Dr. Moore. So Dr. Steve McCleary, Dr. Moore, thanks for being here. Please come forward and share with us a little bit about Dr. Moore and Fonzie.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Thank you for this opportunity to address you. I tell you what, I've got to tell you, I thought I showed up at the wrong occasion when I saw you. It was just like coming to church without your shirt on or something. It's kind of a bad dream for me for a minute. No, thank you for sharing Gene with us. He served on the committee to select Dr. Moore. 25 people, and almost an entire year looking for the right person. That's some very strong candidates, as you know, very, very strong. Candidates. When we developed the president's profile, which took us a while, and we all agreed to send the board approved it. He hits every one of the buttons on that, every one. He checks every one. The period of 6 weeks, he's been to probably over 80 meetings already. Santa Fe, Alamogordo, Silver City, Hobbs, Tatum, Chow, me, up and down the county. He gets it. So I just want to introduce him and let him say a few words.
Thank you, Dr. McCleary, Mr. President, and board members, and Superintendent Strickland, and district administrative staff. I'm honored to be here in your fine city of Hobbs and Lee County. I'll tell you, since the time of my wife and I stepped foot in Hobbs, we've been welcomed. We have really been welcomed. You know, it's about the people here. And we, as New Mexico Junior College, we're looking forward to continuing the great relationship that we've had with Hobbs and the other area schools. In future times, we hope to continue to build even a stronger relationship. So I thank you all for giving us this opportunity to be here this evening. We're looking forward. Dr. McCleary is going to speak a little bit about the GO bond that's coming up, but certainly if there's anything that we at New Mexico Junior College can do for you, we want you to know that our doors are open. And I've said this to staff at the college, and I'll say it to you all as well, that we are the community's college. And we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing by you all and the residents of this great city and this great county. So thank you again for allowing us to be here. Thank you.
He means it too. I'm going to self-disclose something. I've got Parkinson's, so if I appear to be drunk, I'm not. I'm a sober drunk. I just got drunk with Parkinson's. Sometimes my mind goes at Mach 8, my brain goes, or maybe my brain goes at Mach 2, and however that works. It doesn't work very well sometimes. Just want you to know that. So if I stumble around, please don't send your security officer after me. I'm not drunk, I promise you. I need to tell you one story about your public school and your superintendent. Dean was sitting in a meeting with me, I don't know, remember when, and we were talking about a student who was a homeschooler, graduated with us on a Friday night, 2 degrees, associate of arts, social science, bright, brilliant. Having trouble with getting his homeschool to give him a transcript. He'd already been admitted to Tech, Mexico Tech, think tank in the school. Dean was listening to the conversation, and I did everything but stand on my head, just pleaded with him. I begged him. He said, could I have that information? I said, we gave it to him. Guess what? He now is enrolled at Hobbs High School and New Mexico Tech concurrently. It has 2 classes to fill. He'll have a transcript from Hobbs High School and New Mexico Tech and New Mexico Junior College. That's thankful to that guy right there. He knows the business he's in, and I'm telling you, it makes me cry to see that, because a lot of times we in education, we forget we're in the business of kids. He did that on his own. Nobody asked him to do it. I just want to thank you publicly. Okay. Now, get my composure back here. Cheer up when I hear things like that. Good story. Every even number of years, higher education competes with dollars for GO bond. There's roughly $250 million on the GO bond this year. Now, you can imagine a state without a medical school, without a law school, without an engineering school. You can imagine living in a state like that. This is how we compete. We compete with them on a day-to-day basis every day. We're all competing for the same students, we're all competing for the same dollars, we're all competing for the same GO bond dollars. Now, if you look at this, there's a little this is our deal. This is our little flyer in here. Uplift is on C. You created this multi-billion-dollar facility called the CTEC. I said billion, it's million, I understand. It's the most incredible facility in the state. People are talking about it statewide. Everywhere we go. Are you familiar with that CTEC facility? Are we familiar with it? We love that facility. We have to do something. We have to keep with the Joneses, right? Keep up with you guys. Now, that's not why we're doing this. We're out of space. On our campus, we have a roughly 1,600 to 1,800 full-time students, about 3,000 or 4,000 students who are in workforce training facility. Out of space with that. So this is what this is about. Now, I had to go toe-to-toe with UNM, toe-to-toe with New Mexico State. I love those schools too, toe-to-toe with Eastern, but we do that very well. So here's the reasons why I would like you to think about supporting. I can't tell you how to vote. I want you to think. Can I tell you how to vote? I want you to think about it just for a minute. Number one, look on the front of the brochure, if you will. There's no tax increase. That's number one reason, no tax increase. Not unusual when you go to GO bond. That's the first reason. Second reason is New Mexico Junior College has $2.1 million to increase our capacity out there for workforce training. Now, that facility we're building is about a $17 million facility. Last night we presented to the commission, city commission, and Finn Smith asked me, he said, are you pleased with that 2.1 million? No, not ever pleased with 2.1 million, but it's better than sticking out, right? Number two reason is we've got $2.1 million on that, but we frequently say in Lee County, we send all our money up where? Santa Fe, never get anything back in return. How many of you said that? I say it all the time, right? Hey, this is where we get money back. We've competed over the course of the last 25 or 30 years. We've probably received 60 or 70 million dollars for facility, 5 million for the core. Our museum, our new allied health building. So please consider just that reason of itself. We can say, hey, if we go out there and buy, we compete with those dollars and cents. $2.1 million on a $250 million bond. It's about 1%, right? We're out for more than that now. And when I presented the first time in 1998 to the capital committee, they said, why would we ever award you guys a facility on there? You don't even pass bond. That hurt me too. What do you mean we don't pass? They told me this, that we hadn't passed a bond, a statewide jail bond in, I don't know, 10 years. Well, no wonder they never did. I said, Dr. Burke, who by the way is 90 years old, he's still on the committee, he still remembers me, he still remembers everything about everything he said that was dumb. I said a lot of dumb things to the year. He still reminds me about those dumb things. He said, Steve, if we put this on facility, you better pass it. Well, we did. We passed it. We built our Ben Alexander Student Center that first time. We built the museum for part of it. So we've been successful. But here's the thing. We cannot afford to send our new president back next summer. Okay, when he comes back to make the capital request and they say, Dr. Moore, you never passed that. You never did it. So we got to pass it in Lee County, right? We don't want to send our new president up there and him being beat up like I was. I was too young to know. I was too stupid to know my knees were knocking when I was up there. You could hear it clanging up against the door. I didn't know how to make a presentation. He said, okay, we'll give you the facility. We've passed it ever since. We have a GO bond. We can't afford to send it. Now, also, did I mention there's no tax increase? I didn't. Okay, there's no tax increase this. Last reason is, look, here's the thing. For New Mexico Junior College, we have to have great partners. We love partnering with Hobbs High School. We've been a partner for years and years and years. But our students deserve exactly the same thing that your students deserve. Partnership goes like this. So when they come to us, we got, and to Jeff and Zeke have been doing a great job of articulating curriculum together and continue to do that. Man, we have to step our game. Simply out of facility. Our welding shop is 50 years or maybe 6 years old. We need a new welding shop. And you know the rest of the deal. So I'm not going to show you anything. So I'm just going to ask Gene. Gene, knowing what you know now, would you support this deal bond?
Yes.
Gene, knowing what you know now, would you ask others? No, I'm just kidding. I can't ever tell you how to vote, but please, at least think about it. Please don't send him up there next year without this deal bond. Thank you very much. Gene. Appreciate it. Appreciate y'all very much. Okay. Any questions?
There's got to be a way we can help with this, support it. So get the word out.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate you very much.
And I will say, Dr. Moore, thanks for being here.
Thank you for
Dr.
asking.
McCleary,
Thank you for
thank
allowing
you
us.
for your participation in that process.
Appreciate it.
It was very well ran. And I can tell you as a superintendent of Hobbs schools, where we are sitting here today, August 16th, I can't be more proud of our relationship with New Mexico Junior College.
You too.
It's very strong, and CTEC is a testament to that. And you guys are a testament to CTEC as well. And so we appreciate that.
Although he did say, keep your presentation about 5 minutes. I said, I've never said anything well in 5 minutes. He said, I've heard you talk for an hour and never saying that. He was thinking he didn't really say it. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, Dr.
Thank
Moore,
you.
are you, if I remember reading right, you're from Arkansas?
I am.
Go Hogs.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, big city, yeah. Hey, I have to clear that up because my wife's gonna see that on a video or something. I'm a Red Raider fan now. But I actually grew up in Arkansas, so yeah, so.
What's the whole hours?
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
Amen.
Huh?
I forgot that, Arkansas.
I have to be a Red Raider now.
I understand.
My daughter actually she made the going band today. We found out, so
Oh,
she's
beautiful. Congratulations.
a going band from Raiderland. So
We're ready for instruction.
Sir.
President, members of the board, I thought you might like a little additional information on how busy we've been lately. And, this is about our institutes. The first one is our Leadership Institute that we have July 20th and 21st. And leadership is every member of cabinet, all the administrators, the principals, assistant principals, coordinators and directors. So it's quite a group, about 40 to 41, would you say, Mr. Strickland? In that group. And so what we put together was 2 days of information about specific topics. And you see those on your first page there. You also see in parentheses who gave that training. In some cases, we had a trainer come in, and in some cases, we were the trainers doing the training. We worked on 45-minute blocks of time, and in smaller groups than 41, they rotated through the sessions, and they were all day, each day. And we have many topics, as you can see there, and we had input on these topics. So leadership gave input. We had topics we wanted to share, things from the State Department or things for our own organization. And so there's quite a variety there, as you can see. We feel like that was the beginning of what would lead to the next portion. We were setting a foundation with principals before we went into, if you'll scroll to the next page, the Staff Institute. Staff Institute was 4 days in August as teachers returned back to their contract. And staff included not only their principals and assistant principals who moved with their staff, but every instructional staff, certified and classified, were part of the groups. And again, you can see, this one's easier if we take it a day at a time. So on the first day of the Institute, there was time in the building for a campus staff meeting, a teacher work time, and then Mr. Strickland did his welcome back speech, which I think some of you have a memento from your little can, on layers, many layers. You want to add anything else? I kind of
Sure.
shortened that to 2 words there. So.
I can add that now. And so, Mr. President, members of the board, I did set at your table or at your seat the paint can. The paint can that every staff member received on that Tuesday afternoon. And the paint can was for me, was symbolic of an experience I had with my daughter and my wife and father-in-law as we visited Cadillac Ranch in Amarillo, just outside of Amarillo. If you've never been there, I would encourage you to go. Don't make a trip just for that. It's literally 10 Cadillacs that are buried nose in the field, in the middle of an alfalfa field now, that began 1974. And since then, members and people and folks have traveled past that along I-40 and have stopped and have left their mark. They've spray painted those Cadillacs since 1974. And in some cases, that paint is just maybe a ½ inch thick. In other cases, it may be 2 and 3 inches thick. And you still can resemble that those are Cadillacs. But the illustration or the impression that left me with was, as educators, and quite honestly, as people, every single experience we have, interaction, is a layer upon who we are. And sometimes those layers may look like graffiti. Sometimes those layers may just be on part of us. But honoring that every single experience is a layer, and it makes us who we are. And so as educators, we don't have the privilege of stripping away all the bad that we think has occurred to kids. It's our responsibility to honor those kids as they are, as they present in front of us with all of their layers, regardless of what they've made of them, and layer on more good. Now, there's an eagle on the front, and birds are made out of feathers, and eagles most certainly are made out of feathers. And while originally I was going to give an eagle feather, a bald eagle feather to every staff member, I appreciate my job.
You don't have enough bail money.
And I did not want to go to jail for a federal offense of eagle feathers being handed out. But every single one of those feathers on that bird have a unique purpose, and they serve a unique purpose for that bird. And as that bird develops and becomes an adult, those experiences that that bird has had, every single one of those layers are an experience. Some of those feathers are created for the purpose of flight. Some of them are created for defense. Some of them are created for warmth, for camouflage, for beauty. Every single one of those feathers have a purpose. But just seeing a single feather, we wouldn't know what that bird looks like. Just like every single one of our kids. We get to see them as their layers come together. And all of their feathers have been layered on top of. So these paint cans, yes, are symbolic of the layers that we apply to students. They're empty because as educators, we pour out. We pour out those experiences on our kids, but it's also symbolic that while we're pouring out experiences, we're also receiving layers as well. And so that's our theme for this year, layers. As we continue to realize what typical is. I think the phrase of I want normal back. Let's just be frank. Normal is now. Normal was not 5 minutes ago. It was not 5 years ago or even 2 years ago. We want what's typical, and our students expect that of us. And it's up to us to provide opportunities that layer on their future and their experiences. And so we've got a paint can. We did not hand out the lids to be dropped and make a lot of noise.
Thank you. Now I understand.
Thank you, Mr. Strickland, for layering that out for us.
Oh.
I gotta get some points for that. So the welcome back speech was really fantastic. We had a lot of celebrations, and that was great for everyone. And of course, Strickland's speech was very moving and inspirational. Then before the campuses left, then they had a campus PD, which their principal ahead of time prepared for them, but they met in a location on the high school. So instead of they're already here, we just came out from the welcome back speech, and they went to an assigned area with all their staff, and the principals provided a professional development there. We went around and visited those. Many of them went through the safety that they had learned about when we did the Leadership Institute. That was an opportunity to present that to their staff. So a lot of good things going on. So that was the first day. The second day was called district level PD in the morning. And so just for the morning, we did the first 6 things that you see there. And again, we're putting on some, trainers are putting on some. These were in 40-minute sessions, and the schools were grouped together. So in these sessions, we were in very large locations, and when we were training, we had approximately 200 people in the room with us at a time. And then they rotated through every session and received the information. The Google Classroom, Interim Assessments, and Land School, they were where we would split the staff, and then they would present back at their school at some opportunity. That was the morning. That afternoon, you were in your building, unless you had a district department meeting, and I listed those there. And then there was the principals provided a campus PD again, only this time they were at their campus. Quite a variety going on, lots happening. Okay, day 4, August 4th, day 3, August 4th, was district content specific day. This day was all about content and instruction. And it was an all-day event where teachers were now, rather than moving by campus, they were in grade levels or content areas. And we had, many were by trainers, as you can see, and they moved through the new adoption, literacy in the content areas. So secondary attended many of those. And then there were several other supports that we wanted them to move. So let me come here where I can see. Then that was an all day. They were not on their campus that day. It was all at the high school and the freshman high school in those areas. The last day, August 5th, they were on their campus all day. They had, there was a smaller group of district department meetings and the last campus PD by the principals and some additional teacher work. And that rounded up both institutes, the Leadership Institute and the Staff Institute. I will say we did ask for feedback. People felt like they had received good information. It was a lot of information, but good information. And many had not met together, especially some of the elective groups, in years. And they were glad to have come together, have the opportunity to not only learn something, but to plan together and talk as a group. So we felt like it was very worthwhile. And we were glad that we were able to do that, where you had staff on contract. We've always done Summer Institute, but it was, even though we paid people, it was optional. And this was everyone back and everyone hearing the same information. I stand for any questions.
Very good report. Any questions for Ms. Cooper? Thank you. Ready to move on to human resources.
Mr. President, members of the board. So we have our reports here with first off certified employment. I did promise last month that we would have a bigger group in that this month, which we have 75 that started on contract on August 2nd. Out of that 75, 64 were certified teachers in the classroom. Just kind of looking at our vacancy numbers today, right now we have a total of 6 openings that are elementary schools. So that's across the 13 schools. And then at our middle schools as a total, we have 12. We have 1 at our freshman school and then 1 at 8 at our high school. So we're looking roughly at 25 openings district-wide for certified teachers. We have 580 teachers available, is kind of what we're at. If you take and do the percentage there, you're looking at about a 4.3% vacancy rate on our teachers. I think it's really kind of a testament to those administrators that are out there in the audience and the ones not here tonight that are really kind of going out and beating the bushes to, you know, find those teachers, get them in the classroom. The other 11 within that group consist of public relations, nurses, school counselors, SLPs, and those support that are certified into the schools as well. When we look at our classified on the second report for employment for this month, there was a total of 37 new hires for classified positions, custodians, paraprofessionals, nutritional services. And then our certified resignations for this month, we had a total of 7. As you look at the 7 and break it down, 4 actually had to leave the area because they had family emergencies that required them to move back to where they had previously come from. Two, we had licensure issues with that we just weren't able to get those squared away to continue employment with them. And then one was seeking an opportunity outside of education. And when we look down at our classified resignations, we had a total of 18 this month. We also had one certified retirement with a school counselor that we knew was going to take place. And then two classified job abandonments. Basically, the two individuals who abandoned their positions, we weren't able to gain contact for them to come in to complete paperwork. So at that point, we had to just call them job abandonment. Stand for any questions? Any of the reports?
Bunch of hires, did we have that many students come in? I mean, too many, all these teachers. We had them fill last year. I was just curious on the big hires.
And so Mr. President, Mr. Calderon, we are currently staffing our FTEs at our pre-COVID staffing levels. We may have shifted folks here and there, but the reason why we're still staffing there primarily through COVID was made sure we had additional staff to assist throughout that. And so currently with 25 vacancies, that's what we were carrying pre-COVID in terms of those vacancies at 10,600 students. Our enrollment today was 10,007. So comparing the two, we've still got some room to grow and we continue to grow each day. That answer your question?
I was just curious.
Yes, sir.
Shortage we have now sounded pretty good. I was expecting more. But good news, kinda.
It was
Any other
good-
questions?
Good to see some of the people coming back. Diana Roper and Yvonne Cartwright. Yvonne was my student, Joe.
Find a language arts teacher yet? Good luck. I know who not to call.
Already asked.
Okay, but doesn't hurt to try.
Right.
All right, ready to move on to operations. Sam, how are you?
I'm blessed. Mr. President, members of the board, how are we doing tonight? Good. Miss Appleton caught me cramming from my study session a little bit earlier.
You
Feels
know,
like it's my 6 weeks test when I come in.
when we were in the auditorium, I was just thinking of that new chiller. No, it wasn't here yet.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that here in a little bit. You're gonna get one question. That was it. That was it. You burned it up right
It's like
there.
a whole new meeting. We talked about this chiller for months now. And then you go in there and you're just like, yeah, right, new chiller.
We do need one, don't we? We'll start with the project with our state partnership with Southern Heights. It's ongoing construction. I'm going to include pictures. Mr. Strickland said, you might want to include pictures next time. And I didn't do it, but I'm going to do it this next time. It's to be able to see this go up has been pretty incredible. It's been a lot of fun to watch this one. Now, of course, it's just in the beginning stages, but we'll make sure to include pictures as we go on. Because the footings are down, slabs are being poured, put in place, and we'll start seeing steel arriving next month. And then so far, so good. It's in the early phases, so things look pretty good. On the mill site, we were able to see that plan in action the other day. We had our meeting. The day that we got all that rain, we had our meeting and we saw the parking lot get full of water. And so I think that we have come up with a plan in order to make sure that water drains like it's supposed to. And we'll be looking at that as time goes on. But what ended up happening is that we have one drain that's towards the west side of the parking lot as you're coming in. And they went back the next morning and got a concrete saw, cut that down a little bit more, and it drained out a little quicker. So, you always want to see that in action, and the Lord provided that night, that's for sure. So as it goes on and we look at it a little bit more, we'll be looking at those areas that are concerned, and then we'll address those as they come back up. The security award projects for Edison and Stone, they're substantially complete. Punch list will be closed up, be proceeding on e-Boulder. The chiller, here we go. Should arrive in early September. That's not when we needed it, was it?
Just in time for winter.
Just in time for winter. So those things are, I hate to say that they're still tracking on time, but they're still tracking on time, just not when we needed it. One thing that I did learn today, we were having a conversation regarding the project with and I will get to that here shortly too, a project in the freshman school, and they're talking about now some of the items are 40 to 60 weeks out. So planning is a big deal. We're gonna get some of that. We'll get to some of that here shortly. Kaiser Middle School study, we have Mrs. Marilyn Stroop helping us from Greer and Stafford. Highland and Houston ranked 116 and 99 for a standard-based award. So we're going to go after that, and a letter of intent will be sent to PSCOC this month, and then we'll get that going, and we'll have an update in that November meeting as we go along. On the Rec 7 alterations and Highland Middle School kitchen additions, those quotes came in pretty high. So we have gone back and to ask to review the cost-saving measures and see what we can do to have to rebid that. And I'm not sure what's driving that. So as I learn more, I will definitely report that back.
I know that we have other architectural estimates on different projects. Do we expect those to be 4 times higher also?
You-
Mr. President, some of the things that we have found in that, from that design firm, specific to Rec 7, expect the same clay tile roof that's on the top of Will Rogers. That's unnecessary. So that's driving. We know that that's an easy get, so to speak, but there's some other things that we want to keep looking at. And yes, as Frank's going through that, pulling some other estimates from some other jobs. And I think I shared before, at that cost, it's cheaper to tear that metal building down and build a new metal building that meets every need that Rec 7 may need, rather than address the things that we know of at the moment. So Frank's working through that, and in fact, he was in the conference room today working through some of those things. Hope to have some better news on that
Yeah.
project in coming
Concerning,
weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, four times is pretty drastic.
Right.
In the central kitchen freezer, those purchase orders have been issued, and as well as notice to proceed. So we should be expecting those things to be done in February. So College Lane site improvements, construction drawings, they're nearly completed, and will be submitted to city for approval. When we look at Will Rogers, there was a portion, and I don't want to say his name incorrectly. Is it Pyatt, right? Yeah, there was a little chunk of a little piece of real estate over there that they're looking at, and I think they've got a hold on it as far as if we can grab that or not to work with the design for the Will Rogers site. So the other part is going to be the district-wide outdoor classrooms. Those canopies materials are arrived, and those things will be moving as we can get to them. As far as our new projects, Tasker, I think that those are going the way they should. They're looking okay. We're getting things done over there, and I expect that everything's going to be fine in that area. Tidings remodel, that is about done. I think the only thing that they're doing there is finishing up the men's side on that. The HVAC systems for Sanger and Jefferson. Right now, what they've had to do, and we've talked about this last month, is they put some temporary controls in place in order to make sure that air works. And so we should be okay there as the materials arrive. The freshman high school culinary alterations, this is what I was referring to earlier. As we talk through this today, it sounds like some of those items that we're going to need and try to grab are that 40 and 60 week out. And they were talking about HVAC systems, things like that we're going to be hard to get. So I'm not sure if this is something that's just happening overall with everybody's experience in this, or just vendors that we're using. So as those things happen, I will make sure to keep you informed. Watson Stadium, you've seen where the lights are going up and coming down. They pulled all the wires for both poles today. We should have lights tomorrow, just in time for our game. We couldn't have cut it any closer, I don't think. And then the poles will be coming down as well. So the old lighting systems will be coming down. They're going to try to get that done tomorrow. Let's see here. And as far as active projects, 53 down from 75 last month. And as far as that goes, that's all I have. Any more questions? Other questions? No?
Thank you.
Okay. A second part to this. Mr. Strickland wanted me to report out on that SRP. That next slide over there. Yeah. So on our SRP, this is one of the presentations that we did during our Leadership Institute. And the student response protocol that was put out by the I Love You Guys Foundation, John Michael and Ellen Keys. This was started with their daughter, Emily. And you probably know the story. Maybe you don't know the story. She was at Platte Canyon High School in Colorado, and a gunman went in and held a few girls hostage. And the last message that she sent to her parents was, "I love you guys." And she didn't make it out of that. Since then, I've been trained and have the privilege to go to several different conferences, and this was one of them. And it's pretty moving when you see those families. So to know that Hobbs and really 30,000 other school districts, not only in the United States, but in 11 other countries, are using this every day. And so this is something that I saw that as we're doing this, the principals take this stuff seriously. Everyone was paying attention, and I've presented at a few schools since that time. There's 5, you'll see the 5 different actions in emergencies, and I'm going to go through them real quickly, and then I'll come back and explain. You'll have hold, secure, lockdown, evacuate, and shelter. Now, each one of these come with an announcement. For example, hold, you'd say hold in your classroom. The students would remain in the classroom. Why would we do this? Any reason to restrict movement within that building. It could be something simple as, we had a kiddo lose his lunch in the hallway, so we just need a little bit of time to clean up. And then so the protocols are pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I do have a handout that I'm going to send out to the principals to go along with this to make it easier for them to understand when to employ what action. All of these actions also have in how long do you do this? And so there's going to be communication throughout these actions. Hold, for example, well, how long do you do it? Until it's lifted. So the principal will come back on, or some administrator will come back on and lift that hold, and then you would go about your business. On secure, this is something to get inside because something is outside. We lock the outside doors. We say secure, get inside and lock outside doors, and we start looking for kiddos that we need to grab and pull inside. Why we do this? Something hazardous or a threat outside the building that triggered when the school is notified of a possible danger. So this is how we want to respond to that. And then teachers, as far as when it's lifted, it'll be announced to make sure that we can, our secure is going to be lifted and they can go about their business. So this one's a little bit more serious as we go down this list. We're looking for something. It could be something as simple as a loose dog in the neighborhood that's out there. And we want to be able to not let kids outside that building, right? On the lockdown, here's where it gets a little more involved. And this is where you want to lock everything down, and it's locks, lights, and then you stay out of sight. Why would we do this? There's something inside that building that's dangerous, whether it's a weapon report, intruder, altercation in the building, or active shooter. This is the time where, at this point, we want to make sure we're listening to those announcements and we're following protocol as we go through. We want to move quickly to areas of the room, stay out of sight, stay away from doors and windows. Considerations that we have, we want to think about those times during lunch, between classes, So we want to practice these events, not just this one, but these events at different times of the day. So when we look at this one specifically, this is the one that people, their ears perk up when you talk about school safety. And this is one where we really want to make sure, stay diligent about what we're doing around our buildings and what we do in our daily protocols and our how we allow people in and out of our building. How long do you stay in this one? Well, until law enforcement comes and escorts you out. When we look at evacuate, this is a part where you need to move students from one location to another. In the past, this was, we have a fire in the building. That's what we would do in the past. So we can move them from place to place. One thing about when you're evacuating and you're moving kids around is you want to make sure that you have all your kids. And this is where RUVNA comes into play. Having that list of kiddos, knowing where they're at, or even if you don't know where they're at, and you can still send that message, I'm still missing so-and-so or so-and-so, you can send that out. And then that message is a two-way message from your campus, from teacher to teacher, or administrator to teacher, if you will. So when evacuation is announced, we want to look to make sure that we head to that evacuation location in an orderly fashion. We take attendance at that location, and we want to make sure also that we stay in that place until we are told we can return. And then the shelter, there's two different reasons why we would shelter. One is going to be weather condition, and the other one's hazmat. Just to make it simple, when shelter is called, why is it called? It's basically because we have a severe storm coming, or maybe it's a tornado, something like that. Or hazmat, it's basically something that could be as easy as, or it's really could be something like a spill. It could be something that's in the air. And so at that point, we're going to just respond appropriately to what that shelter is going to involve. And again, those come with announcements as far as, hazard, you go to your safety strategy. And then if it's a tornado, you move to the designated spot, stay in that area until that you are notified otherwise. Any questions on the SRP? That is the 5-minute version of this without going into a lot more detail.
I know we always take safety seriously. And several years ago, we did Alice training. I assume
Yes.
is Alice still one of the aspects of what we do, or is this something that's added on and replacing it? Or?
Not really replacing it. It's something where I would say that would be embedded along with what we're already doing. So if we were to go back to lockdown and that were to happen, at that point, we would employ the Alice training if it were to get more serious at that point.
Do we still do that? I know all the schools went through it 2 years ago. Do they still get updates and go through?
So I've been asked if we could circle back and do some of these trainings. So I've sent that message out to each, even though their campus principal probably did a great job of giving them that training. I just want to go back and have that conversation with the group to see if they have any other questions, or maybe I can say it differently for them. But at that point, I've been asked, hey, can we do this training as well? So as that's happening, we'll collect that information and then give the training as necessary as we go through there, because it's important. I'm thinking every building is a little different. Some are the same, but they're a little different. So when we walk through this with a campus, we take that building into consideration. Now, as far as looking through that district lens, it's a little more challenging in the sense of you're trying to think through all the possible scenarios and what you would do to evacuate, from one spot to another. CTEC, evacuate to where, right. So there's different things like that we work through. So when I go to a building, I want it to be specific for that building, so we can just talk about what their needs are.
Thank you.
Any questions?
And one thing I'd like to add to that, and I agree with Mr. Eatson on making sure that we're not encumbering our staff and administrators with another program.
Agreed.
We got Alice training. We thought that was great. We want to make sure that if we're adding something, that we're adding it somewhere we're doing. We're not, okay, well, what are we doing this year? Okay, we got a bunch of different acronyms. So what's next year? What's the acronym for next year? Okay, so I want to make sure, number one, on that we're making it simple for these folks, because We could sit here and talk about this all day in a conference room, nice, calm, air conditioning, whatever, but in an actual situation, you got to be able to respond to that, not, react to it and get something done. Okay, and you can't be thinking, oh, what acronym, what did I learn this year was it lockdown? Was it lockout? Was it run, hide and fight? What did we learn this year? So we want to make sure that we're making it easy, number one, on that part, as far as the response, if something does happen. But I really think as a district, we do this. We talked about the cameras that spot the guns, as a prevention. We really need to concentrate on prevention. Okay. Keeping people that don't need to be in our buildings out of our buildings.
That's correct.
I know we had an incident the other day. Luckily, have a locked door, somebody trying to get in one of the schools. I don't know if that was shared with all the campuses as a lessons learned. If it wasn't, it should have been. Because in my profession, that's what I do. I have an incident. I was up till 1 o'clock this morning on an incident on a location on oil field. A location at 2 o'clock in the morning, I was sending a safety alert to all my folks. This is what happened. We don't want this to happen again. So we really want to concentrate on making sure our buildings are secure, that people are not walking through our halls. If we have a door that's supposed to be shut, it needs to be shut. If there's a fire door, you walk in the main door and there's the door that has to have a key to get in, but there's a door right here that you don't have to have a key to walk through. You can walk right through it. So, active shooter people are crazy. They're not stupid. They can see a door open and they walk right through the door. So
And that's what we
wanna
talk about.
concentrate on our campuses, that we are concentrating on prevention, not just response, because response, something's already happened. We need to concentrate on preventing it from happening from the get-go.
I agree. And that's one thing that I could say that my experience right now, still being new in the district, that all the trainings that were done during that leadership, it wasn't something that was just dumped on. And that's what I told them. We'll go through this, but I still want to circle back and talk to each campus, because they won't ask in a big group. So in a smaller group setting, they're more apt, to ask questions. And so we've done that. And as we're going to continue to provide that support, and at the same time, it's easy to sound like an alarmist on this, and that's not what we want to do. We want to make this. Unfortunately, we're in the world today that this is a part of our process now. And you're right. We got to be diligent about, are we shutting the doors? Are our process is good? What can we do differently? How can we make this better, more secure for kids? Inconvenient for me, probably, as far as do I have to go shut that door, check it? But let's do it. Just make it a part of that process.
I don't care if it's inconvenient.
I agree. And so we talked about some of those things as well, going, how difficult is it if I have a classroom by that door and I didn't go check it? We asked that question. It's like, who closes your building down? People start looking around. It's like, it should be us to close that building down. We should be checking that door. So I think it's those things that when you go back and you look through and start having that discussion with those teachers or those principals, and go and checking doors and go, hey, this door's open, and have that conversation about, let's not make this happen again, because you're right. We can't be reactive to these things. This is something to where there's an opportunity for us to be proactive here. Let's do those things so we don't have to be reactive. So 100% agree on that. So,
Mr. President, Mr. O'Brien, one of the things that we do, and we've done for a number of years, is our drill schedule. Our drill schedule is not just a list of dates and an evacuation drill. They're a scripted, scenario-based drill. And yes, that's a response. On the back end of that, it causes us to talk about and think about what are those prevention strategies that can be put in place that we're not currently doing, because it is that feedback loop to help improve. And I agree with you. We don't care if it's inconvenient either.
I'm not worried about inconvenience. Okay, I'm worried about keeping idiots out of our schools. They don't want to be in our schools.
great. Thank you very much.
Any questions? Thank you.
You bet.
The board has had their packet since last week and had an opportunity to review the business side of the district. And I know that if there were questions, they reached out to Ms. Gray. So you're on.
Mr. President, members of the board, for your consideration, we have the expenditures, investments, and multiple pages of inventory. I will not read them page by
Over
page.
1,000. This board packet is how big?
1582.
We have homework.
It's on pizza. It's pizza time again.
Yes, it is pizza time and lots of milk. I make a
Did I
motion.
interrupt you? I'm sorry.
You're good.
I make a motion that we approve expenditures, investments, and that lengthy inventory.
I second that motion.
We have a motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
And Mr. President, members of the board, just for your information, the monthly budget report.
Happy belated birthday. Too. I think it's what, a couple of weeks ago, or
Do it
when was your birthday? Was it pretty?
August 12th.
Happy birthday.
Friday.
Oh, I guess it was,
Easy to have a cake.
I know, I thought about baking one, but I was busy.
Happy
Maybe next
birthday.
time.
Thank you.
Hey, ready to
I didn't
go?
want anybody to think you were too special.
Aw.
Mr. President, members of the board, I have for your information, really an enrollment report through the first 7 days of school. The first page you see there is our enrollment report for today. You'll see the total down there of 10,007 kids. One item to note there is we've not begun purging rolls yet. And so what we do is we're still carrying kids that we rolled over that may not have showed up yet. We will begin processing that in the coming weeks. The next page that you have is that historical membership report. And what I did is rather than having, I think we have 14 years of that now, where we've tracked the first, well, actually now we track every single day. Included the 2012-13 school year, and then the most recent 4 years plus this year. So you can see there, we started school on the right of August the 8th, 2002. And so these are day one to day one comparisons, even though we may have started school earlier, later, whatnot. You can see that that number today is 10,007. That's reflective of what that was just the day before, or that page before. Going down in that report, you can see September the 2nd, that'll be our 20th day. And then our 40th day will be October the 3rd. However, the date that's important to the state is the same for every local education agency in the state, is October the 12th. That will be our 40th day as the state sees it. And that's when we will, in data processing, we'll continue to submit those numbers to PED for validation and verification. But just wanted to share that with you and see where we are and see where we're tracking. As we shared before, we're staffed at the same levels as we were with 10,600 kids. Monitoring every day. He was looking at elementary class sizes just before the board meeting. And so we've got a couple conversations to have about some first grade classrooms within the district, about hiring or advertising for an instructional assistant in those spaces. And that's on the heels of some other decisions we've already made to help alleviate some of that. So in those spaces as well, based on numbers.
You
Time
had-
to be in Hobbs.
You had me stumped when I was looking at this report. I go, what does that 9.02 mean? Or that 10.3? I could not figure it out. Now I know.
Yes, sir.
It's the dates.
Yep. And that's really just a mental placeholder for me going, Gene, if you missed a day, that's the day that's supposed to be there.
Boy, you had me.
All things looking good. And as I said, we look at that literally every single day, the first 20 days of school. Historically, Labor Day still is that day when people decide to show up to school. And so, however, Hobbs has been an anomaly in that we don't taper off after Labor Day. Many school districts, and that's the trend, is Labor Day is typically your highest for whatever reason, and then your number starts to go down from there. Hobbs Schools has not fit that mold for many years. We have continued to add students out the school year, even past that day. So we look forward to that. And I think, as you can see, driving through town, folks aren't leaving. Good time to be in Hobbs.
Back up over 10,000 and get another member on.
I need a volunteer for the large district rep. I'll
Have to draw
let
straws.
everybody raise their hand at once. So, I have to have one next year. I don't know if I'll be board of directors next year.
Mr. President, members of the board, the next item I have for your information, is our redistricting process that we have to go through on the heels of every census. This process begins at the federal level and then steps down through the state level. And now it's in the counties and municipalities as those elected seats. And so in visiting with research and polling, Michael Sharp is who will be leading that effort for us as a school district. And he believes he can do that through 3 meetings initially. If we need more than that, we absolutely can schedule more than that, but he believes in this initial engagement, 3 meetings should take care of that. So we've thrown some dates on there of September the 15th or September the 20th for us to be able to advertise that and open that up for Michael Sharp of Research and Polling to come in this room and have a work session with the board, look at those initial options in terms of redistricting. Won't make any decisions. We're literally just considering those options as it relates to that. We'd advise that going forward to an October meeting. And then again in November, where we would make some decisions and then present that to the board. And so that redistricting team that meets those 3 times would bring that recommendation to the Board of Education, currently scheduled for December. So really, we just need to give a thumbs up so I can let Michael know on September the 15th or September 20th.
We go on the 15th. I can do the 20th.
The 20th is the day of our board meeting in September. So it would be prior to that. We would meet in here and he said it would go about an hour, hour and a half. All right.
Bring snacks.
Bring snacks. Good idea.
Tanya.
Sonia's still here. Mr. President, members of the board, the next item I have for your consideration, each year, the New Mexico School Board Association asks all school boards to submit resolutions to be a part of their legislative platform. And this resolution, Mr. O'Brien brought this, actually, I think brought the idea up in the spring at Spring Budget Workshop. An unnamed individual took credit for it. So now we're going to put it in ink. But what you have is 2 drafts. And I say 2 drafts because the second resolution was in conversation with Joe Guillen and says the same things. You'll notice on the top paragraph, we made some changes. And then in the now therefore, we made some changes. And so if you will entertain me, I will read this prior to some discussion. And if we need to make edits, we can make edits before we take action. Hobbs Municipal Schools Board of Education. Resolution seeking New Mexico legislature to fully fund the licensure fees and costs associated with obtaining all relevant licenses, endorsements, and certifications required by New Mexico Public Education Department and state statute for educators to serve the students in New Mexico schools. Whereas the Hobbs Municipal School Board of Education believes the foundation of a good education relies on the ability of Hobbs Municipal Schools to recruit and retain exemplary teachers and staff. And whereas the Hobbs Municipal School Board of Education recognizes a critical educator shortage in New Mexico and other neighboring states. And whereas, that's just caught a typo, apologies. Whereas the Hobbs Municipal School Board of Education expresses its desire to value all educators who feel undervalued by society, whereas the licensing process is burdensome and cost prohibitive to many educators to begin this life-changing work for our students. Now, therefore, the Hobbs Municipal Schools Board of Education requests that the legislature of New Mexico and the governor of New Mexico fully fund New Mexico Public Education Department to provide all fees and costs associated with educators obtaining all relevant credentials required by New Mexico Public Education Department and New Mexico State statute. This resolution was adopted by the Hobbs Municipal Schools Board of Education in open session at its regular board meeting on August 16th, 2022. I got my pen out. I'm taking markups.
Oh, you hadn't read the
Looks
second
good to
one. Yeah,
me.
we got
I like it as read.
It literally, they're the same document. The only difference is in the first one, we added educators to the top paragraph, and then we added educators to the bottom under now therefore. I did not read the first one.
Was
My
that-
apologies.
Joe's recommendation, or is that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, that was his feedback is to include educators in both those 2 lines. He says it's clear. He said you just may want to you want to make sure that you're delineating who you're talking about.
I'm okay with the second one based on Joe's recommendation.
I make a motion, we approve the second one?
I second that motion.
I wouldn't know what to add, yeah. There's been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries for the second one.
Mr. President, members of the board, I have for your consideration the third and final reading of New Mexico School Board Association Board Policy Advisories 229 through 232. As a reminder, we have had these readings at both the June and July board meeting and have had no public comment or revision to these policy advisories. After action this evening, no further revisions. They would become submitted to John Kennedy for inclusion in our board policy.
So, have a motion for,
I moved.
we have a motion on policy advisory 229, 230, 231, and 232. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. We wouldn't ask you to read those.
I'll need another glass of water.
Okay. It's at this time that we will go into executive session for the purpose of property acquisition discussion. It is 7:23. Do I have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion in a second. Mr. Calderon.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Ms. Appleton.
Yes.
Ms. Jones. And I vote yes. We'll go into executive session. Thank you for attending.
Thank you for being here. It's good to see your smiling faces.
How are you? return to regular session. Is there a motion?
I'll make it.
Have a
Second.
Motion and a second. Mr. Calder. Mr. Calderon.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Ms. Appleton.
Yes.
Ms. Jones.
Yes.
And I vote yes. There was consideration on action in the executive session, which really wasn't any. We just had a discussion.
Make a motion, no action was taken in executive session.
We have a second.
Second.
Calderon.
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien.
Yes.
Ms. Appleton.
Yes.
Ms. Jones. And I vote yes. Ready for announcements?
Yes, sir. Mr. President, members of the board, September the 5th will be Labor Day holiday. We will not have school that day. Parent-teacher conferences will be on September the 14th. Students will not be in school, and we will have a regular board meeting here on September the 20th. You may have not seen your email yet, but I saw an email just before we got started that the Region 6 board meeting is September the 26th in Lake Arthur, scheduled to start at 5:30. So we'll have time again to talk about it in September. But again, as always, we would leave from here. I wrote down 3:45 as a departure, giving us plenty of time to get there. And so I did
What was
not
that
look at
date again?
September 26th, I believe. And pull it up real quick and make sure.
I think that's the date.
Is that the date?
Yeah. I looked at it right before. we
Sorry,
walked
put
in.
it in my calendars.
That's a Monday.
Monday, the 26th. Yeah.
Lake Arthur. Hmm. Never saw there.
Well, it is 8:29.
Vámonos.
Second.
Have a motion in a second. We're adjourned. Thank you.
These are pretty good fortune
All right,
cookies.
let's go home. All righty.
Bye, guys.